Hi guys. Now, a lot of people really struggle with the theory tests and to understand the questions. So what I'm going to do is show you 20 questions and we're going to do a breakdown of the questions and the answers so you really start to understand what it's asking you. It's not just about memorizing the questions and the answers. It's about learning them and understanding them. And that's the way you're going to get all the answers absolutely spot on and correct. I'm using the 4-in-1 Theory app. I'll leave the link in the description. You can download it from your Play Store, your App Store, whatever you're using. So we're going to actually go on and click on the theory test. We're going to do the practice revision questions because this way I can actually choose the sections I want to do. So we're going to go all the questions apart from the videos. Click continue. I'm going to hit for 20 questions and off we go. Question 1. Where would it be unsafe to overtake? On a single carriageway, approaching a junction, traveling up a long hill, or on a one-way street. So read the question again. Where would it be unsafe to overtake? That's the key word there, okay? On a single carriageway, yeah, could be unsafe at that point, couldn't it? When you think about it, let's look at the other options. Approaching a T-junction, definitely could be unsafe to overtake approaching a T-junction. Traveling up a long hill, doesn't tell us anything about the visibility on that, so that could be okay. On a one-way street, it could be any of these options really, it could be any of them. All right, so where would be unsafe to overtake would be when you're approaching a junction. I'm assuming that's a T-junction, so you got to think a car might be coming around the opposite way round, coming around that corner into your junction. So that would be probably the unsafest position in this situation. On a single carriageway, yeah, you can overtake on a single carriageway, but you have to make it safe, okay? But approaching a junction would be the unsafe option here. Question number 2. Why do motorcyclists often look around over their right shoulder just before turning right? Motorcyclists don't have mirrors, to listen for traffic behind them, it helps them balance as they turn, or to check for traffic in their blind area. Okay, so why do motorcyclists often look around over their right shoulder but just before turning right? Motorcyclists don't have mirrors? Yes, they do. Motorcyclists do actually have mirrors, so they can use them. They listen for traffic behind them. They're looking, not listening. That's the question, yeah? Helps them balance as they turn. To check for traffic in their blind area. Well, that would make the most common sense answer, wouldn't it? So yes, bikers basically look over the shoulder to see if anything's overtaken them, like a car, before they're taking a right turn. So yeah, check for traffic in their blind area. Remember what your blind area, your blind spots, you can't see in mirrors. And that applies also for bikers and cyclists as well. Question 3 is, following a collision, a person has been injured. What would be a warning sign for shock? Flushed complexion, warm, dry skin, slow pulse, or rapid, shallow breathing. Now, generally, if someone's in shock, they'll be breathing quite heavily and fast as well. So I'm going to go for rapid, shallow breathing, okay? Okay, so a slow pulse won't be really for a sign of shock. Normally when they're shocked, you'll have a faster pulse. They'll be sweating a little bit more as well. So yeah, rapid, shallow breathing would be the answer here. Question number 4. What does this motorway sign mean? Obstruction 50 meters ahead of you. Temporary maximum speed sign. No services for 50 miles. Or temporary minimum speed limit. Normally you'd see this sign if there was something happening up ahead on that motorway, like maybe traffic forming, queues of traffic, maybe roadworks or something like that. So the speed will be reduced from potentially 70 miles an hour down to, in this instance, 50. Let's look at option A. Obstruction 50 meters ahead of us? No. Temporary maximum speed? That would make sense with what I've just explained. No service of 50 miles? That'd be an issue, that would, wouldn't it? 50 miles, no services? Temporary minimum speed is not temporary minimum, it's the maximum because roadworks or traffic jams, yeah? So that's the maximum. Question 5 is, you're on a 3-lane motorway. How should you overtake a slow moving lorry in the mid lane if it's showing this sign? So we've got to sort of think, what is this sign telling us? Let's look at the options. Cautiously approach the lorry, then overtake on either side. Use the right-hand lane and overtake the lorry normally. Follow the lorry until you can leave the motorway, or approach with care and overtake the lorry on the left. Now, let's look at this sign. It's an order sign. It's telling you you've got to do this. Remember, it's in a blue background, so you must do it. Now, because it's pointing left, it means you have to go to the left-hand side of that vehicle. Let's read the question again. You're on a 3-lane motorway. How should you overtake a slow-moving lorry in the middle lane if it's showing this sign? So the lorry's in the middle lane, and the lorry's saying to you, that sign is saying to you, overtake left of it, because the right-hand lane is probably blocked up ahead. Okay, so that's saying keep left, basically. So yes, so D would be the correct answer. Approach with care and overtake on the left of the lorry. Remember, this is saying keep left. Question 6. What's the legal minimum insurance cover you must have to drive on public roads? Third-party fire and theft, comprehensive, third-party only, or personal injury cover? Now, insurance might be a little bit of a confusing one, especially if you're still doing your theory test, you haven't bought a car, you haven't had the pleasure of trying to deal with insurance companies on the phone or even online. So you might not know this one. It confuses a lot of people when I'm doing my lives as well. So there's 3 levels of cover. Comprehensive is the top one. That's the most expensive one. That pretty much covers your car and the other car and so on, okay? Then the second one down from that is third-party fire and theft. Then the very bare minimum is third-party only. Third-party insurance cover will only cover the other car that you've hit. So, for example, with third-party, if that's your vehicle and you hit this vehicle, your insurance company will pay for the damage of this vehicle, and they won't pay for the insurance damage. They won't pay for the damage for your car. That's the very bare minimum you need. Okay, that's third-party. All right. Third-party fire and theft. This one here, same thing. Your car, your insurance company will only cover this car if you hit it. They will not pay for your car. However, if your car is caught in a fire or stolen, your car is covered. Third-party fire and theft. And then fully comprehensive, that one there, will cover everything. So basically, it will cover your car. If you hit this car, your insurance company will pay for this car's damage and pay for your car's damage as well. So, but the very bare minimum you need is third-party only. Question 7. What hazard should you be aware of when traveling along this street? Now, we can see there's parked cars on both sides. It looks like a residential area. It looks like a narrow road. Anything could happen here. So think what issues you might have here. A door might open. A car might move away. Somebody might step out from between the parked cars. It's a residential street, so will kids be playing on the street? Will a football maybe go through the parked cars or something? Okay, we've got lots of issues that could happen. Or the options we have: glare from the sun, lack of road markings, children running out between cars, or heavy goods vehicles. So yeah, children running out between parked cars would be a hazard, wouldn't it? So you've got to really be aware when you're driving through these really tight little city streets, residential streets, you've really got to be aware of kids stepping out, walking out between the parked cars. You will not see them until it's too late. So we're going to go with D, children running out between the parked cars. Question 8. What will affect your vehicle's stopping distance? The street lighting, the time of day, the condition of the tires, or the speed limit? Okay, what will affect your vehicle's stopping distance? Now, stopping distance, let's have a look. Street lighting, that doesn't really affect your stopping distance, doesn't affect your braking or your tires, etc. Okay, and your control. The time of day shouldn't really matter either. The condition of tires could be an option. The speed limit, it could be one or two. The condition of the tires or even the speed limit. Okay, if you're driving faster than you should be over the speed limit, your stopping distance will be much longer. So condition of the tires, if your tires they're not in a good condition, they're illegal maybe potentially, that will affect your vehicle's stopping distance, especially in the wet or in snowy, icy conditions. So your vehicle will stop nice and safely, especially in an emergency stop. Question number 9. Some two-way roads are divided into 3 lanes. Why are they particularly dangerous? Traffic uses the middle lane for emergencies only. Traffic in both directions can use the middle lane to overtake. Traffic can travel faster in poor weather conditions. Or traffic can overtake on the left. You'll have a lane for you to go that way, a lane coming opposite, and then a lane in the middle. Now that lane in the middle can be used by either you or the oncoming vehicles, okay? Depending on where you are, it might be a restriction, it might be during the different times of the day, or even if it's busy or not so busy, okay? Now, why are they particularly dangerous? Because Traffic in both directions can use the middle lane to overtake. It's a tricky one. You don't really see this quite often, actually. The one I can think of is in Birmingham, the Aston Expressway. That one has a middle lane and extra lanes on the side as well. It's the best option here, actually, yeah. Traffic use the middle lane for emergencies only? No, you shouldn't be using the middle lane for emergencies. Traffic in both directions can use the middle lane to overtake. That would be the best option. Traffic can travel faster in poor weather conditions? No, you should be driving slower in poorer weather conditions. Traffic can overtake on the left? No, you shouldn't be overtaking on the left. So yes, traffic in both directions can use the middle lane to overtake. That's why it could be dangerous. Think about the oncoming vehicle that's already overtaken if you're trying to overtake at the same time. Question 10. Which sign means there's a double bend ahead? A double bend ahead. So we're going to look for a hazard warning sign. So if there's a double bend ahead, it's a hazard warning as some sort. So it's going to be either A, B, or D. So A tells us that we've got a bend to the right, a single bend to the right coming up ahead. D tells us we've got a bend to the left coming up, just a single bend. We know C is not a hazard warning sign. It's clearly B. It's this one, yeah? You can see it obviously goes up. First bend, comes around, and there's the second bend. That one's a simple one. Question number 11. What could you do to help injured people at an incident? Give them something to eat. Keep them on the move by walking them around, keep them warm and comfortable, or give them a warm drink. Now, if they're injured at an incident, you don't really know what level of injury they have. If you give them something to eat, that might not be a good idea. Because they're injured, you don't know what level of injury they've got. Keep them on the move by walking them around. Same thing, they're injured. Why would you keep them walking? That doesn't make sense. Give them a warm drink, similar as giving them something to eat. You don't really want to do that. You don't know what level of injury they actually have. But keep them warm and comfortable would actually make the safest option here. So yeah, we're going to go with that one. Keep them warm and comfortable. What does this sign mean? Does it mean airport, side winds, road noise, or adverse camber? So if it was an airport, you would normally have an aeroplane in that instead of this, what looks like a flag blown in the wind. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see this bit around here. It looks like it's waving around. So yeah, that's a big clue. Airport, it's not an airport. Side winds, quite a good option. Road noise, no, it's nothing. It doesn't tell you anything about road noise. Adverse camber is a completely different sign. It literally is like a vehicle on a tilt. So yeah, we're going to go with side winds on this one. Best option on this one, side winds. Question 13. How much can stopping distances increase in icy conditions? 3 times, 10 times, 5 times, or 2 times? We know it's icy conditions. So generally in icy conditions, you should brake 10 seconds earlier than you would do on a dry day. We've got an option here, 10 times. Yep. So how much can stopping distances increase in icy conditions? Yep, 10 times is the answer. On a normal dry day, you want to keep a 2-second gap between you and a vehicle in front. If it's raining, you want to keep a 4-second gap, ideally, between you and the vehicle in front. And that does depend on what speed you're doing. Obviously, if you're driving faster, then you want to increase your distances between you and the vehicle in front. So, but if it's icy, snowy, you want to keep your 10 times distance. Yeah, brake 10 times earlier as well. That's the key thing. Question 14. You're driving on a road that has a cycle lane. What does it mean if the lane is marked by a broken white line? So we have this broken white line here on our left-hand side. You can see it, and in there, between the curb and that broken line, is a picture of a bike. So you know it's a bike lane. What does it mean? It's got a broken line. You shouldn't drive in the lane unless it's unavoidable. There's a reduced speed limit for motor vehicles using the lane. There's nothing telling us about reduced speed, so that's not an option. The lane must be used by motorcyclists in heavy traffic. No, motorcyclists shouldn't really use that. It's for cycles only, not any motorized vehicles. Cyclists can travel in both directions in that lane. Not a good idea. So you shouldn't drive. You, as a car driver, remember it's saying you're driving on a road that has a cycle lane. So the answer here, you shouldn't drive in the lane unless it's unavoidable. Question number 15. What safety device must be fitted to a trailer braking system? Corner steadies, a jockey wheel, a stabilizer, or a breakaway cable? If you're towing a trailer and it's got brakes on the trailer as well, there's probably going to be quite a big trailer in that sense. You'll normally hitch that trailer up to your towing hook on the back of your vehicle. And because it's got brakes on the trailer as well, it needs to be able to stop in time as well. If your trailer gets unhitched on your tow hook, then it could just free flow. So it needs to have something called a breakaway cable. That breakaway cable will just obviously snap in place, activate your brakes on your trailer and stop the vehicle from causing further damage. Question 16. Who's responsible for paying the vehicle tax? Is it the driver of the vehicle, the registered keeper of the vehicle, the driver and vehicle licensing agency, so the DVLA, or the car dealer? So if you are the registered keeper, it's your responsibility, okay? Regardless who drives your car, the registered keeper of the vehicle is the person that's responsible for paying the vehicle tax, making sure it's insured, and it's got its current MOT as well. It's always the registered keeper. Question 17. When will a new car need its first MOT? When it's 5 years old, when it's 3 years old, when it's 1 year old, or when it's 7 years old. So brand new cars don't need an MOT for the first 3 years. On its third birthday, that's when you actually have an MOT done. An MOT is just basically a good old health check for your car to make sure your car is safe to drive on our roads. So 3 years is the answer. Question 18. When should you flash your headlights at other road users? When showing that you're about to turn? When letting them know that you're there? When showing that you're giving way? Or when telling them that you have the right of way? This question, when people flash their headlights, we've got to look at what the highway code book suggests it means, okay? So we've got to look at and thinking, what's the official meaning? And the official meaning is you're letting somebody know you're there. You're making somebody aware of your presence. So that's what flashing your headlights could be used for. Good examples you can use of flashing headlights is when you're driving at night and you're on a country road, it's no street lights. And if you're coming up to a bend or even on a narrow bridge, you're going to go over the bridge and back down again, you might have an oncoming vehicle. If you can't see them over the other side of that bridge, you can flash your headlights to warn any potential drivers that might be the other side of that bridge that may be coming over that you are there. Same on a bend, on a corner. You're flashing your headlights to make other drivers, maybe pedestrians, cyclists, bikers, making them know that you're there. Question 19. You're following a vehicle on a wet road. You stay safe distance behind it. What should you do if a driver overtakes you and pulls into the gap you've left? Try to overtake safely as soon as you can. Drop back to regain a safe distance. Stay close to the other vehicle until it moves on, or flash your headlights as a warning. I mean, we've got lots of clues in this question itself. You're following a vehicle on a wet road. That's important to remember. You stay safe distance behind it. That's a good option. You always keep your distance behind that car, especially on a wet road. But then what should you do if a driver overtakes you and pulls into that safe gap that you've left? Now, obviously, we've got a wet road. You now need to regain the gap between you and the vehicle in front. So the safest option will be here. Drop back and to regain a safe distance again. Let's look at the other options anyway. Try to overtake safely as soon as you can. That could be dangerous. So a driver's overtaken you, pulled into your safe gap and made your gap much, much narrower. There might not be enough space in front of that car for you to overtake. Not the safe option. Stay close to the other vehicle until it moves on. Why would you want to do that? The roads are wet. What if that oncoming, the car that's just overtaken you, what if he suddenly slams his brake on and you're really close to him? You're going to have a rear end accident and it'll be your fault. So that's not a good option. Flash your headlights as a warning. They already know you're there. They've overtaken you. So you don't need to flash your headlights. Safety-wise, drop back to regain that safe distance between you and the car in front. Simple. And the last question for this theory test, question number 20, is you're carrying an 11-year-old child on the front seat of your car. They're under 1.35 meters. What seatbelt security must be in place? They must use a suitable child restraint. They must be able to clearly see out the window. They must be able to fasten their own seatbelt, or they must use an adult seatbelt. I mean, 11-year-old children, they're not going to be really tiny, so they don't really need to be in a real child seat, like a baby seat or anything like that, okay? They must use a suitable child restraint. They must be able to see clearly out the front window. That doesn't really matter. It's about them being safe in the seat. They must be able to fasten their own seatbelt. That's a kind of a given one, kind of, but that's not the legality side of this one anyway. They must use an adult seatbelt. If a suitable child restraint isn't available, then yes, they must use an adult seatbelt. Simple as that. Safety first. Okay, right. So if we click on the next, why have we got one wrong? Review answers. Did I click this wrong one? I did click the wrong one. Oh, they must use a suitable child restraint. All right, we got that one wrong. Doesn't matter. But let's look at the hint on this one. Let's actually look at the hint. Let's see what it says. As the driver, it's your responsibility to make sure that children are secure and safe in your vehicle. Make yourself familiar with the rules. When children are carried on the back seat, there are a few very exceptional cases where an adult seatbelt can be used instead of a correct child restraint. Now, in fact, I've just realized where we went wrong. I didn't read the question properly, so this is where I made a mistake. This is telling us when children are carried on the back seat, there are very few exceptional cases when an adult seatbelt can be used instead of a correct child restraint back seat. But the question actually tells us you're carrying an 11-year-old child on the front seat of your car. So that's where I've messed up as well, actually. I didn't read the question properly, did I? Well, I did, but I didn't soak in the front seat of your car. That bit was important to sort of like, take into consideration. So if they're sat in the front seat of your car, they must use a suitable child restraint. There we go. So now we know. I've learned something new today. All right, guys. So good luck with your theory test. Hopefully that makes sense. If you liked what I'm teaching you and you've got information from this, click the subscribe button. Leave me a comment as well. And what kind of scores are you getting? What are you struggling with? Are you struggling with the questions or the hazard perception videos? What are you finding more difficult? And let me know what you want me to sort of do more videos on, and I'll make them videos for you. All right. See you in the next episode.